credits due! Shit, what am I gonna do this time? They won't take IOUs this time, that's for sure. Wait. Well, to be fair, I don't need water, do I?
Video games are expensive and a waste of money. My mom says that after I buy a $20 game. Video games, contrary to popular belief, are not that expensive. Sure, they can be, but like most movies are $30 for 2 hours of content, and some video games I spent $10 on and wasted half my life playing them. But it doesn't mean they can't not be expensive. Yeah, if you're a dumb, stupid idiot, you can spend $60 each year on the new Madden, even though they add like, what, 2 new polygons? Well, that's actually a perfect use of money. Who needs milk anyways? But you can get even more expensive than that. There's a pretty big group of people called collectors, and they are pros at wasting cash. Like, could you spend $1,000 on Clay Fighter? Actually, how can you not? These are rare games. What makes them rare?
The color blue?
It could actually be a multitude of things. The game may have been a store exclusive, limited time item, total dog shit, only so many copies were made, or the manufacturer really messed up. Now, how many rare games do I own? This is Skylanders Imaginators for the Nintendo Switch. This is commonly cited as one of the rarest Switch games, often selling for $120 roughly. But that's just for the case. If you want a box, say goodbye to your house. Now, how did I have my hands on this? I was really lucky. It was my first Christmas with my Switch back in 2018, and back then, I was the biggest Skylanders meat rider. I mean, figuratively. These look painful to step on, much less that. But for Christmas that year, I got this game complete in box, and as you can see, I made the biggest mistake in my life. I was 10 at the time, of course I opened it, and again, I love Skylanders. But I gotta say, this version kinda stunk. Most versions of Skylanders come with the Portal of Power, aka an NFC reader. Basically, you plop these guys onto the portal and then they're in the game. However, to cut down on costs, the Switch version doesn't use an NFC reader. Instead, chooses to use the Switch's built-in NFC reader and saves the Skylanders to the game itself instead of having to leave them on the NFC reader, because that really wouldn't work. But that has its drawbacks. For one, it takes forever to read these guys, way longer than the Portal ever did. You can't use any other figures besides the main Skylanders, such as these little nose plugs or these vehicles, meaning any functionality with them, such as the full-on racing mode, has been removed from this game. Now, with this being a GIMP version of a weaker Skylanders game, the game not selling well, and the overall death of Toys to Life, the price skyrocketed. So in the end, I ended up owning a game worth of my own life. My life's not even worth $120, damn it. Now, is there any other rare games I own? I did not luck out twice. So for now on, we're going to stay away from my personal collection and head to the beautiful world of the internet. Wait, let me just... Limited Run Games specializes in getting indie games physical releases, but only for a limited run. Oh, just like the name! Now, there are tons of companies like this. You got Super Rare Games, Special Reserve Games. Wow, these names are on the nose. They have roughly 1,000 copies or so in the wild, but that's not quite what I'm looking for. Sure, these are limited, but you can find these for less my most prized possession, so we gotta dig a little deeper. You know Play-Doh's like $1, right? This is Clay Fighter's Sculptor's Cut. It's an N64 fighting game where you play as the best childhood snack food. But, wait a minute, why is this version so rare and this one isn't? What, did the director spin the box or something? No, actually, this is a Blockbuster exclusive. So back in the day, Blockbuster was a rental store that the rise of digital media and streaming services slowly went out of business, but during their heyday, it was apparently the place to go. Now, I personally have never been there due to the fact I'm not a depressed millennial, so I lack in the experience, but since Blockbusters were bigger than the Black Plague, it managed to get its hand on a few exclusive games. Most of these, however, were more like upgraded versions of pre-existing games, such as Clay Fighter's Sculptor's Cut. Now, what did they add in this version? They added a few new characters, some gameplay enhancements, but is that really worth the extra grand? I'll get back to you on that. But this isn't the only rare game originating from the devs of rundown blockbusters. Two other fairly rare games are Donkey Kong and Star Fox competition cartridges. The only difference in this version is that you have a timer now, meaning you're paying more for less. Speaking of competition cartridges, you can't talk rare games without mentioning the most famous one. The Golden Competition Cartridge for Nintendo World Championships. Back in the day when the world was obsessed with Nintendo, there was the Nintendo World Championships. They were massive tournaments that used these cartridges for the competition. The cartridges could give you special challenges depending on which one of these funny little guys you turned on. But these gray ones, though rare, aren't nearly as rare as the legendary gold cartridge. Unlike the gray ones, which there's a couple dozen lying around the world, the gold ones only had 26, with the last one selling for over 100,000. Now, what's the difference between this one and the regular one? This one costs your soul. Now, you may also think a surefire way to make your game rare would make it be a limited time release. You would think! Back in 2020 is Mario's 35th anniversary. Now, why did they celebrate its 35th anniversary? I honestly don't know, but throughout this entire year, we constantly heard little rumblings about a bunch of stuff to celebrate this anniversary. One thing being a brand new collection remastering the 3D Mario games. Now, hearing this back then, my mind was buzzing about what they could do. They could make Mario 64 have a better camera, put it in widescreen. They could remove the motion controls in Galaxy, give DS actual controls, and make sure Sunshine wasn't the worst game ever made. They did none of these things. Instead, what we got was a light remaster of Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy that made them just look 10% less crappy. Now, why I'm talking about this game on the rarest games of all time list? I don't know! Yeah, this game did a funny little thing, and by funny little thing, I mean the most annoying, dumb thing I've ever seen. This game was a limited time release, meaning it released in September, and it got discontinued in March of the next year, meaning that once that date rolled around in March, the fun was over. The game would not only not be manufactured anymore, but also not sold into an eShop. So you would think that would make the game one of the rarest games on Switch, if not the rarest. Instead, it ended up selling 10 million copies and still as common as dirt. Okay, really nice dirt. The price nowadays is hovering around $70 to $80, but that's nothing compared to anything else on this list, so why did I include it here? Next on the list, we got another game that got discontinued after it released, but unlike Mario 3D All-Stars, this one is actually rare. NBA Elite 11, this game, believe it or not, is a basketball game. My favorite.
Ow!
So just like my skills in basketball, this game was cancelled because it's apparently so bad they just couldn't release it. Well, actually, the game did release. For a week. Yes, they released the game, advertised the game, finished the darn game, and still said nope. But if you really want to play NBA Elite 11, you do have alternatives. Speaking of games with alternatives, Stadium Events was a game using the NES Power Pad, which was like buttons, but for your feet. A true dream come true, but sadly, if you want to experience the true magic of Stadium Events' use of the Power Pad, you're out of luck. A true great tragedy of our time. Or you could just play world-class track meet. Yeah, this game's the exact same as Stadium Events, just minus the insane debt. So is it really worth going bankrupt over? Only on Tuesdays. Again, another game that never actually released, Tetris on Sega Genesis. Now what's special about this version of Tetris? 2 years worth of paychecks. Yeah, instead of paying $20 for a modern version of Tetris, you can spend your entire life savings. Speaking of life savings, I'm still in debt to like 500 different banks and loan sharks. Well, I guess I gotta sell my own games. Even my most prized one.
Yeah, I still lost everything.